I'm Generation X. We are observers and we're a bit cynical. We had to change our physical media 3 different times. And with that said, I don't rush in. I shrug, maybe crack a joke, and move on. So watching a clown in a cornfield felt oddly fitting. Like, here's another cultural metaphor. Let's see where it goes. The title alone sounds like you should tell you everything. It's not subtle and it's not trying to be. There's a clown and there's a cornfield. Horror, right? Well, yes. It's the baseline, but things start to rise to the surface, and that's where things start to get interesting. I'm going to sidestep spoilers, mostly because this is one of those films that benefits from a clean slate. Not because plot twists are shocking, but because its intentions feel different depending on how you enter it. I went in expecting a straight slasher. I haven't read the book it's based on, so I can't speak for the adaptation, but if you have, please drop me a comment. I want to see if it's pretty close to the book. What I can say is that it opens with the greatest hits of the genre. Kids partying in the middle of nowhere. It's 1991. There's booze. There's implied sex. And then there's that eerie something's about to go wrong vibe. And then it jumps to present, and then characters follow familiar paths. There's a grieving father. There's a misunderstood daughter. There's an emotional distance and awkward attempt to reconnect. Then the high school social ecosystem of misunderstood teenager and mean teachers. It all starts to feel like a mix between The Breakfast Club and Scream, with maybe a dash of Cutting Class thrown in. The adults are clueless or aggressive or both. The teens are either apathetic or too online, and for a while it leans heavily into those familiar tropes. But then it pivots. That's when you realize it isn't just another slasher flick, it's a satire wearing a rubber mask about how generations misunderstand each other, about how older folks romanticize about the past while younger ones challenge it, about how both sides caricature each other to avoid engaging. It's more BuzzFeed meets Midnight Movie than traditional storytelling, but I'll give them credit. They went for it. And whether or not it lands depends on your tolerance for heavy-handed metaphors. The satire here doesn't tiptoe. It stomps around with oversized clown shoes. Boomer characters look like exaggerated versions of what we see in news cycles. Gen Z teens are glued to their phones and completely unaware of anything analog. There's a moment with a rotary phone that actually made me pause, not because it was deep, but because it was so absurdly on the nose. It circled back around to being clever. The scares, not exactly nightmare fuel. If you're coming in expecting Terrifier levels of violence or discomfort, it's dialed down. The kills are tame depending on your sensitivity to that sort of thing. They follow traditional horror choreography, off-screen lunges, quick cuts, and over-exaggerated spray of blood. It's not brutal, but it's familiar. It leans more into funhouse than trauma. And that's probably why I didn't hate this. I mean, I didn't love it either, but I appreciated the effort. They committed to the bit. They pushed a meme into a movie that didn't flinch. Still, the movie lives in this odd limbo. It's too quirky for hardcore horror fans, too self-aware for casual viewers, and maybe a little too soon for the country that's still touchy about generational divides. There's a fine line between being clever and being condescending, and I don't know if the film always knows where that line is. So here's the bottom line. A Clown in a Cornfield for me wasn't scary. It's not even profound, but it's trying to be both. And that makes it oddly watchable. It's commentary disguised as camp. Will this resonate with everyone? Probably not. But for those who like their horror with a little self-aware, a little ironic, and a little weird, it's worth the look. Not for the screams, but for the conversation. Because at the end of the day, that's what makes films interesting. Not what they say, but how we talk about them over coffee and pie afterward. And really, isn't that what watching movies is all about? Thanks for going on this film journey with me, and as always, be real.
Call 911!
Where's the button, Jen? What is this? What
What kind of phone is this?